Hard Hat's all about showing up to play hard, doing what it takes to win.
If you want to cement legacy, win another.
He's your third center.
You don't want to pump him up too much, but it's hard not to.
This is maybe the most I've ever agreed with you.
Hey, Boy Manning here. And look who it is. Josue Pavon's in the building.
Man, I haven't heard this song in a while. Let's go.
Monday edition of the Garden Report. A lot going on, Josue. Especially in your world. We're going to be a little slow here for a little while in Boston. I can't believe it, man. We thought Thunder Celtics was inevitable, but the Celtics are out of the playoffs, and the Thunder are moving on with a big blowout win in Game 7.
Yes, humongous win, man. I mean, that was the kind of adversity I feel like the critics needed to see. But obviously they got to get the job done here in the Western Conference Finals. But what a game, just showing off their depth, showing off, the obstacles that they overcame throughout the series. I feel like was in on display in a big way in Game 7. You know what I mean? Especially the way things turned in that second half. Just getting back to that nitty gritty defense, 1 through 5, man, putting Caruso on Jokic. I mean, like, it was just everything that the Thunder have been about all season long, all on display. Easily, if you ask me, their best game of the postseason. But yeah, man, Bobby, it just really emphasizes what this team is and who they are. It was on full display for sure in Game 7.
So when I was thinking about the Thunder's championship chances throughout the year, and I felt pretty good about them, looking at their net rating throughout the year and all the things they did, I was saying, hey, this was one of the best teams we've ever seen statistically. They have one of the best net ratings ever, best defenses, one of the best defenses we've seen this decade. Absolutely. So believe in it, look at it, see what they did. They were blowing out teams left and right there in the regular season. It's almost like the Celtics last year, where you're watching and you're like, all this evidence is right in front of us that they're going to win it all. So why not buy into it? But there's still this skepticism around them about inexperience, haven't been past the second round, maybe some coaching stuff, reliance on Shea, whatever you want to talk about when it came to doubting them. And I was like, all right, yeah, I guess that stuff could come up, but we'll see. All that stuff came up in this series. They blew a couple games. Game 1, me and you talked about it, the coaching stuff down the stretch, blowing the 7-point lead late there. So they put themselves in real danger in this series, and the Nuggets gave them a real push. I think you saw Denver's championship medal in the series, and Jokic is obviously tough to contend with, and Murray, all these other guys were rolling. So they got a real push from this Denver team, and who knows what happens here if Aaron Gordon doesn't go down. But this is a real good experience, I think, for the Thunder, facing probably some of their weaknesses or most of their weaknesses here early rather than late.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I mean by the adversity. I just feel like this team needed that. And it goes down to, or up, I should say, to the head coach as well. Mark Daigneault, going back and forth with Adelman, which I thought he did a tremendous job in this series. And just the way they kind of did this chess match, 1 through 7 from Game 1 on, seeing these guys go down, especially, being down 1-0 and then going down, losing Game 3 and they're building, closing games out. I mean, that type of stuff, everyone talked about the lack of experience that they have because of the way they were just blowing teams out in the, throughout the regular season, that maybe they weren't, ready for those moments, but then they responded in a big way in Game 4, and that's including SGA, of course. Jalen Williams struggled shooting wise, and then he bounces back with a humongous game in Game 7, an efficient game, scoring game. If he's that guy, Bobby, especially moving on here in the Western Conference Finals and all, then we're really talking about a championship team. I think that's another big question mark that was answered again with Game 7. Can Jalen Williams continue this? What we saw throughout the regular season, which made him an all-star, being that number 2, that solidified number 2, which he is solidified, but we know what I mean, like in the sense of just being able to rely on that type of production. I think it's going to go a long way in this series. So it'll be interesting to see. But again, the depth just was the difference maker, I think, Bobby. Even if Gordon was 100%, to be honest with you. And look, maybe it's much closer. We don't see the same kind of outcome that we saw. But I just think, again, when it comes to the Thunder's depth, I think they're unmatched, especially when you look at the remaining teams in the NBA right now, the last 4.
Yeah, it's a depth game now for sure, and I think we're seeing that again these playoffs. We're down the
And
Final
listen,
Four,
they're lucky
Indiana.
too, Bobby. I mean, they've dodged that bullet, that a lot of teams have in the sense of having injuries, to starters, to superstars, all stars. I mean, obviously, what happened to Jason Tatum? I mean, look, they've been very fortunate, but yeah, I just think that's been a humongous.
You need a little bit of luck.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. But yeah, I mean that in the depth, just having that, support off the bench from guys like Caruso, man, the one guy who's gone out there and done it, who's won a championship before, you know what I mean? Like I just feel like that's the kind of stuff like they didn't have that last year. And obviously there's the growth, of SGA and Jalen Williams taking significant strides as well. But it's also guys like that, Alex Caruso, Isaiah Hartenstein, pairing him with Holmgren, and they're just now starting to hit this perfect stride, because they didn't get a whole lot of reps during the regular season due to injury. But yeah, I mean, look, it's all coming together really, really perfectly for the Thunder, and seeing that on full display in Game 7 against a championship team like the Nuggets, that was huge, man. It was an incredible atmosphere for sure at the Paycom Center, man. It was a good time.
Well, you listen to the Garden Report. Great to have Josue back on the Garden Report. We got a lot of stuff to catch up on here on the CLNS Media Network. We're brought to you by Prize Picks, North America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. Download today and use code CLNS to get $50 when you play 5 Prize Picks. Run your game. We'll talk about them in a little bit here. Yeah, this team's impressive, Josue, and I think this is a real hurdle for them to get over. I don't know if next round's going to be easier or more difficult for them. That Minnesota team, it's interesting because they went through the Lakers, who I thought weren't that difficult. A lot of people are starting to hype up their chances to go deep in the playoffs. I never bought it. Round 2, they play a Warriors team, lose game 1, and then Steph Curry goes down. So that's basically the series right there. So they've had the easier path here. Oklahoma, I guess round 1 wasn't that difficult for them. But round 2, they go through this gauntlet with Denver here. So I think it's going to prepare them well for Minnesota. The Wolves played them well during the year, though. I believe it was 2-2. They've scored 120 on that Thunder defense twice. Randall's a playoff force out of nowhere here in his first year with Minnesota. And then you got the Edwards-Shea matchup, too, which is going to be fun here. I'm expecting a battle, but I wouldn't be stunned if the Thunder handle business easier than they did this last round, just because of the test they went through and how difficult it was and all that. But bigger teams have given them issues, and this is obviously a huge Wolves team.
Yeah, I was going to say, Bobby, I mean, yes and no. I mean, I just feel like you're going to see some of these games that they have to really, fight back to win, and I think a lot of that has to do with just the Timberwolves' size. I mean, you asked me before the playoffs started, like, like which teams should I be worried about, or should the Thunder fans be worried about, rather? And I was like, man, the Timberwolves, because of what they've done throughout the season. When you look at that the pairing, of Gobert and Randall, and just the rebounding, game, like that's been a huge part of what you do to beat the Thunder, right? You clean the glass, you get to the free throw line, and I just think that they did a really good job of that, and they're very meticulous in that way, in the sense of down the stretch and late game execution. So it's going to be interesting to see how things play out, especially with the Anthony Edwards. The fact that these guys have the quote unquote experience over the Thunder. You know what I mean? I think that's going to be a big part in this, because that's just been the question mark that's been like hovering over this team all season long, especially in the postseason. Just what that the age factor, experience. Is this the year that they're going to make that leap? Well, when they face adversity, they've responded in every way, and I think that you saw a little bit of that even in the first round series. Making that humongous comeback down by 28 points against the Memphis Grizzlies. I just think that kind of stuff all adds up, and I really think they're getting comfortable in these situations. Adelman brought up a really good point. Coach Adelman for the Nuggets, who I hope sticks around, by the way. I mean, I know he's still technically on interim basis, but
I think for sure he'll be back.
Yeah, I mean, with his experience and everything, it's almost like he's like already the head coach. But yeah, I'm sure he'll be back too. But he mentioned the fact that, like, yeah, they're gaining experience throughout those late games, going down to the wire, overtime experiences. But so are the Thunder. He was talking about the Nuggets, right? But so are the Thunder, and I think those experiences really made this team truly better, which is one of the things that Dagnall talked about after the game. Like this team is significantly better than it was going into the series. So we're going to see how that plays out, for sure in this matchup against the Timberwolves. And I can't wait to see how it goes down the stretch, especially when it comes down to those situations against the Timberwolves, because they can be tough. They can really, surprise you, especially when it comes to the fourth quarter and Ant-Man's got the ball in his hand,
Yeah, and it's a depth game too, like you said at this point. Although, when you look at these last 4 teams, Thunder, Wolves, deep teams, Pacers, incredibly deep. The Knicks, they're doing it a different way. They're going to play 6 guys, and that's it.
Yeah.
So
I mean, even the Timberwolves too. They don't go too deep into their bench either. So
yeah, you got your DiVincenzo, you got your Naj Reid. Like, you don't go too deep there, but those are still important guys off that bench. And you got maybe, I guess, depth can be a lot of guys, but depth can also be a small number of guys doing a lot of different stuff. Like, these are some teams that could have 5, 6 guys like the Thunder do, scoring double figures. And then obviously the Thunder, as deep as they are, rely a ton on Shea. And he came through here. You mentioned Jalen Williams. More ups and downs for him through the course of this series.
Yeah, but that was a lot of up in that game 7, Bobby. Come on, man. Give him his flower. I mean, look, that's the perfect stat line, almost the perfect stat line for what you need out of Jalen Williams on a nightly basis, So yeah, it was a good bounce.
I love this team, man. Yeah, I think they're gonna win it all. And I've been saying that for most of this year. And it's a bummer we're not going to get that Celtics Thunder matchup we were talking about all year for obvious reasons, but also just the basketball of it. These teams matched up so great. The Thunder were such a threat to Boston, I felt like, and even at full strength, and we'll get to the Celtics developments here over the last week in a minute, they had a chance, I think, to beat a fully healthy, fully loaded Celtics team, and we're just always going to wonder what could have been there. And, I was thinking, Sherrod had me on his show in March, and I was like, well, he asked a great question. He was like, over the next 5 years, who's going to win more titles, the Celtics or the Thunder? That was a tough one for me because I felt like as much as I like the Thunder's chances this year, that inexperienced piece, the 3-point shooting difference between those teams, there were a lot of things that made me think, all right, Celtics probably have a pretty good shot when it comes down to it to beat them this year, even though I'd probably favor the Thunder. So in that sense, I was like, we don't.
Real quick, just not to cut you off, but well, as I cut you off, did you ever think about health though? Did you factor that into it? Because I feel like we should have, looking back on it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Looking back on it, absolutely. Yeah. And that's always going to be a thing
Tatum,
here.
Obviously, right? I'm thinking of the other guys like Drew and Porzingis, but yeah.
Porzingis and all that stuff came into play. Jaylen Brown, who we're hopefully going to learn more about today, and his injury. So yeah, all that stuff comes into play, not only this year, but going forward. And that was the edge I gave the Thunder here when I said who's going to win more titles next 5 years. Probably Oklahoma City, because they have younger guys, they have the draft picks, they have that long-term vision taken into account here. Like, they're going to be able to reload. They're going to have some money issues too, just like the Celtics here, but they have the backup plan when it comes to this core, maybe moving on or having to reset a little bit in a year or two, or just figure out some new stuff. They got some young guys who haven't even played yet, like Nikola Topic on the come up here. So, we used to look at the Thunder team and say, oh man, they're too focused on the long term. They're not going all in on this present moment. And look at them right now. They have this chance to win a title this year. And then they're better positioned than any other team to win championships for multiple years to come. And unfortunately, we have no idea now when the Celtics are going to be in a position to win the title again.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, Bobby, man. Such a franchise-altering injury, and to happen to someone like Tatum, man, who's just, people talk about him being Iron Man and always being available. Like, yeah, of course, but also like he was still getting better. I mean, 27. I mean, we still got a few years before he hits 30 here, and because of the injury, because of recovery and the way things are nowadays, like you hope and you compare it to what happened with Durant, and you say, well, yeah, Tatum should be much closer to who he was before the injury, but you're still gonna always wonder what if, and it's just unfortunate, man. I mean, and I don't mean what if in the sense of the Celtics win the series. I'm talking beyond that, with Tatum entering his prime years, and just now you're wondering how this franchise is going to pivot, in his absence, and things change. Like I don't think we see the same starting five that we saw, the one that we were covering in 24 and saying, man, this team really does have this is the makings of a championship roster, and we saw it all play out the way it did, covering it, game by game the way we did, and the way things played out. Now everything changes, and it's just unbelievable how something like that can happen in the NBA, and happen to this franchise. I mean, man, like what a setback, what a significant setback in a blink of an eye, So yeah, man, when I saw that, when I saw the clip of what happened to Tatum, man, it's just heartbreaking, man. It really is, man. It's tough.
Yeah, we're going to get to all the developments of the last week with the Celtics here and what's going to happen next for them. First, I want to shout out Prize Picks, because even though basketball season's over for the Celtics, there's still a lot of great playoff action out there, and Prize Picks is the best place to turn your sports knowledge into cash. With millions of members, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 2,000 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks, and you can cash in on the playoffs. Don't miss your chance to add your favorite players from the court to your Prize Picks lineup. Got Shea, Halliburton, Jalen Brunson, as well as Anthony Edwards, all still rolling through the playoffs. And whether it's points, rebounds, assists, take your pick of more or less for that shot to win up to 2,000 times your cash. You got the Takes to Tickets sweepstakes going on, which could get you and a +1 a VIP trip to the championship. All the way through the playoffs that's going on. And again, join millions of users and sign up today. I love the Flex Play, Flex Friday. Make sure you opt in and tap the checkbox in your lineup builder to be eligible for the protected play. Check squares from any game on the board, and if your lineup doesn't win, you get your net losses back in promo funds up to your promo limit as soon as your lineup settles. Tuesday, that's tomorrow. Taco Tuesday. Prize Picks will discount several projections on the board, usually by 15 to 25%. So they always got kind of great kind of promos going on like that all the time over there. So go to the app. I like to see what they think guys are going to be scoring or rebounding every single night, get a feel for those projections going into those games. Then again, debate with your friends more or less and build your teams. It's that easy. And right now, you get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get that. $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup with code CLNS. Prize Picks, run your game. So let's get into the Celtics, Josue. You've been following all the action over the last week. A ton has gone down. Celtics obviously lose to the Knicks in this series, and devastating fashion, man. I mean, I was talking to Noah when we were there at Game 6, and as the score just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
So after the game, you didn't get into that action outside the arena, man. That would have been some fun, man on the street stuff right there.
We should have, man, but we had to get all those exit interviews and all that, so it was tough.
But no, I feel like
Amit got out there, caught a little bit of it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, even a couple hours removed from the game, I'm sure there was still some goons out there.
No, when we got out there, it was all like bottles and stuff. It was like everyone abandoned that plaza there, which is crazy. And you just saw like the remainder of it by the time we got out there. I saw them carrying those like street fences, the iron street fences that they put up. I saw them carrying those. I seen people on the billboard. I mean, it's insanity what went on out there. It was like a championship parade.
Literally was.
It was better than a championship parade.
You would think it was the Eastern Conference Finals at least. No, man. It's just it's a semifinal, and it's against the Celtics, man. They lost it. But man, it's funny.
Well, I'll give them this, man. One of the greatest upsets ever. It really is. And the Celtics get saved a little bit here by Tatum going down, because that series was over when that happened. They're down 9. There's 3 minutes left. They're probably going to lose that game either way. Maybe you can come back better with Tatum. And they obviously gave a little bit of a push with the Game 5 win. But again, in all probability, I think only 13, 14 teams have ever come back down 3-1. They're probably going to lose the series either way. And I think back with the Game 6, the way it went, me and you, we were in Miami when the Celtics lost that Game 3 to go down 3-0 that year in 2023. And I've compared this year a lot to 2023, when it just didn't feel right. They were really good. It looked like they were a championship contender, but there were a lot of red flags the whole way through, injuries and whatever else, inconsistency. And so they're going down 15, 20, 30. The score gets to 41. And I'm starting to think, is this the worst we've ever seen the Celtics team look in a game? And Noah mentioned that Game 3 against Miami. And I look back, they were down 33 in that game, which felt like the worst loss ever when they went down 3-0 in the Heat. They were down 41 in this game and never competed for a second. It was unreal.
It was like they just emptied everything out. You know what I mean? In game 5. I don't know. It was, yeah. I don't know. It was, is it the atmosphere, or the Knicks just wanted that much more? I mean, it could be the latter. I mean,
The Knicks
really
brought it. Knicks brought it, no doubt.
And it really made you think about all the moves that they made to get, wing defenders, some of the best in the NBA, to line up for guys like Tatum and Jalen.
Isn't it crazy how that worked out?
Yeah, man. Like, I feel like we overlooked it completely. I think it's because a lot of the sense they just didn't make a lot of noise. They were just a quiet, team, a playoff team, obviously, but it was almost like a disappointing season, going into the playoffs. Remember,
like they got
were
swept by the Celtics.
Well, yeah, that too. But I mean, just overall, there wasn't that positive vibe going into the playoffs. Like the Knicks could make this run, and you knew it had to go through the Celtics. So I feel like even Knicks fans were like, they weren't even that dubious into thinking like, oh man, maybe. Who knows? I mean, Stephen A. Smith, like the biggest Knicks fan who doesn't even try to hide it, was like, there's no way the Knicks are winning this series. Okay, let me just put it out there.
Dude,
right
no
now.
Knicks fans thought they were going to win this series.
He said that before it started. Yeah, man.
We were doing our man on the street, and you know how Knicks fans are. They're rambunctious, they're confident, they're saying we're going to do this, we're going to do that.
A couple wins. Like,
yeah. We were doing our man on the street stuff after before game 1, and I'm talking to all these Knicks fans outside the Garden, and I'm like, come on, guys, like, let's go. You can show some confidence. And they're like, yeah, maybe we'll win a game, but we're probably not. And these Knicks fans had no confidence going in. And then they steal the first 2 games, and that's when they started feeling it a little bit.
Oh, of course. Yeah, man, when they went up 2-0. But even then, I was like, I think the Celtics will be all right. And they responded in a big way in game 3. And then, yeah, everything changed.
Unreal. So, yeah, you mentioned it already. Tatum goes down in this series. Probably going to miss most of next year, although I'm hearing some encouraging things on the surgery that I'll get to, in the next week or so here. But either way, the history, Josue. You saw Kobe go through this. You saw these guys go through it. It's interesting that Tatum goes through it when he's young here. Not many guys have gone through it before 30. So that's probably going to work to his advantage. He got a quick surgery. He's going to take his time, obviously, here. They don't need to rush him back for any reason. So he's in a good position, along with his work ethic and the way he prioritizes his health, which we've already seen in his career. He's in a good position to come back from this. But this is a devastating injury. This is one that takes a long time to come back from. And you're not quite yourself for a little while, even when you do come back. So you said it earlier, it's franchise altering for sure. And it makes you rethink this summer a little bit. Are you trying to compete going into next year? Are you trying to build the best team possible? Are you trying to set yourself up for beyond next year? That's going to be the big thing Brad Stevens, who's obviously going to talk later today, will have to contend with, especially as this team becomes extremely expensive this summer.
Yeah, I can't wait to see what he says and how he combs through these questions, because it's going to be it's fascinating when you think about it. Like, what's the next move here? And with Brad, we never know, right? He just surprises us.
No idea. He could do anything.
Time, like 99.9% of the time, it works out. Or is he still batting 1,000? He might be a batting 1,000 if you really think about it. But yeah, I just can't imagine this team, quote unquote, running it back. But when it comes to what's next, what does that look like, Bobby? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how you would start to try to trade off these contracts if it's really that easy in today's NBA. And what are you getting back in return? What's the
not
value
much
of these deals? Yeah, it's not much. I mean, it's unfortunate what's going on with Porzingis. I mean, this isn't even a physical thing. This isn't a physical injury. It's an illness. So what does that mean for his future? What does that mean for not just this upcoming season, but beyond that? That's what teams are going to be thinking about. Someone like Drew, I mean, the kind of year that he had this season, up and down. I mean, he wasn't quite the same guy we saw in the championship run. But what does that mean in the sense of like, what do you get in return for someone like that right now in the market? So it's really hard to gauge what his next move is, but everything just kind of feels like this is going to be essentially the beginning of the end, right? Tatum's injury has just been the beginning of the end, and this team trying to sort of glue together.
Crazy.
Not just glue together the team, as Tatum recovers, but try to just get themselves out of that second apron. I mean, because you're not paying for a team like this if it's not going to turn to a championship. And this team's just not a
because that
championship.
hurts you in the long term. You lose
Yeah,
draft picks, you
without
lose all
Tatum,
that.
it's not a championship team, man. They still make the playoffs. They still make some noise in the Eastern Conference, but it's not a team that you can say, all right, again, with the other, we look at the other players, it's not just what's going on with Tatum, So yeah, man, Brad's got some tough decisions to make, and I can't wait to see what he says today in his press conference.
What's your thought as you look at it? Because obviously we had the debate with John yesterday. Or 2 days ago? Do you move Brown? Do you try to get the most possible for a guy like that? Keep the depth around him. Move on from the most expensive guy there. Go a little younger. Get some younger guys back who are on more affordable contracts, draft picks, that sort of thing, and then reshape around Tatum later? Or do you just move Porzingis, move Holiday, move the guys on the edges who you don't necessarily need right now, let Jalen lead you through this year ahead, and then have Tatum rejoin him and try to figure it out, even though it's going to be really expensive after that?
Yeah,
I'm leaning number 2, obviously, because I think they need Jalen for this year ahead, and I think they're going to potentially need him when Tatum comes back, especially if Tatum isn't quite himself when he gets back. So I get the thinking of trying to see what you could get for Brown this summer, but I think you need him.
Yeah, same. I'm with you, man. Give me option 2 for sure. But let's be honest, though, Brad's going to see what's out there. I mean, you have to. That's your job. You got to see what the price tag looks like, and if he's enticed, I mean, it'll be really interesting. But I'd be surprised if that's the route they go. I just think right now that's someone that you can put in the driver's seat, and he's going to take that responsibility with open arms, right?
I think if you trade him, let's say you trade Jalen. Let's say you trade Jalen and Horford potentially retires here. I know you saw Al's comments the other day. You lose those 2 guys, you have no real identity anymore. You're starting from scratch identity-wise when you get back.
Right. It's almost a full rebuild, I mean, again, we don't know what the other side would look like with the trade, just hypothetical trade would look like. But I don't know. I don't think if you're trying to bridge the gap to your next championship, I don't think this is the road you go down.
So I put one trade together yesterday. I'm going to start looking at the trades this week. San Antonio, Houston are the 2 teams. I think Mark Spears noted that we'll have interest in Celtics players. And when I hear Celtics players, I think Brown. I'm not thinking Holiday and Porzingis and this and that. So Rockets have some stuff they could give up. Obviously, the Ime connection, all that. I don't love their trade packages, so I moved on from them pretty quickly. San Antonio, though, you could do Devin Vassell. You could do Keldon Johnson, so a couple younger wings, scoring guys. And then the number 2 pick. They have the number 2 pick in the draft. You could go get that. Go get a young star to build around with Tatum and have, let's say, 3 wings to work around, 3 rotation wings who are up and coming, who are, yet to hit their stride when Tatum gets back. It's a little bit cheaper. Maybe Spurs throw in another future pick. They have some Hawks picks. They have their own picks into the future too. Maybe they give you back your own pick. Remember they did the Derek White trade and, you give up a pick swap there in 2028. So that's the trade I looked at right now. And I don't love it, but that's the kind of return I think you would actually have to sit back and consider if that was available to you. The number 2 pick, a future pick, some good young players. That would be intriguing. I still say no to that, but I'd have to think about it.
Yeah. I think that's as good as it gets, though, right, Bobby? I mean, look around.
That's as good as it gets.
Right now. I think that's as good as it gets. And again, it's not terrible. It's good, especially when you think about that pick. But I don't know. I don't know if you're Brad, you do that. That's tough. That's really tough. I mean, Jalen's proven himself. I mean, he's had a tough season since the championship, but I think this is a great opportunity for him. And I think he's thinking about it the same way.
I want to talk about that too, for sure. I think that's the most intriguing.
What was that
part about next
cryptic
year.
social media post he put up? You see that?
Oh, I thought you were talking about my social media post.
Oh no, that wasn't cryptic, Bobby. That was just you shooting your shot. Oh man, Bobby just he's He's not, he's not worried. He'll shoot. No, I'm just kidding. I didn't consider it that at all, man. We talked about it before we hit record, but I didn't consider you were shooting your shot. You were just saying what up, man. But of course, social media.
It was a friendly what up. But anyway,
Right.
what was the cryptic post you were talking about?
It was oh yeah, I forgot. It was Jaylen Brown was like, what did he say? Jaylen Brown's got to kill Jaylen Brown or something like that. It's on Twitter. Yeah, it was something like.
All right, send it to me. I gotta do a read here real quick. You can find it.
Oh, my fault. It was a retweet. My bad. I should have said that. He retweeted Jay Electronica. It's me versus me, and one of us has to die. Okay, it was a retweet. It sounds a lot less cryptic when you put it that way. But yeah, it's me versus me, and one of us has to die. Yeah, man, it's a great spot for him. I feel like, Wait, my bad. Go ahead.
It is. Yeah, I want to talk about Jaylen's path ahead because I agree with you. I think there's going to be some good packages, but nothing that makes you move on from a guy like that. And I've generally been away against moving Brown throughout all these years. I considered the KD thing, but even that would have been bad. So I want to give a quick shout out here to, of course, this podcast, the Garden Report. Leave a review. You all remember Josue was here hanging out all the time. Hopefully we'll hear from him more as the run continues.
Yeah, we're gonna get the final we wanted. But
yeah. Oh, that's brutal. But we'll have a lot of content coming anyway, even though the playoffs are over. So leave a review. For those watching the show on CLNS, go ahead and hit the like button and subscribe to all our YouTube channels, not just CLNS Media and Celtics All Access, but you got Patriots Press Pass, Patriots off-season workouts about to heat up here. Training camp will be here before you know it, and they do a brilliant job over there. So go subscribe to their channel. Bruins Rinkside, their off-season's heating up. I believe the draft's coming up as well on the Bruins side. So go subscribe over there. Celtics All Access, as I mentioned. So we got all the teams covered here in Boston. And of course, check out Josue's work over there with Clutch Points, and as well as on his Twitter at Joe_Sway. And he'll have all the coverage of the Thunder's playoff run ahead. And give a quick shout out here to our other sponsor this week, LinkedIn. We've told you about LinkedIn a bunch of times here on the Garden Report, and it is a great place to go find talent. Now, if you have a small business, LinkedIn is the place to go. Why? Because your business is on your mind 24/7. So when you're hiring, you need a partner that grinds just as hard as you do. And that hiring partner is LinkedIn Jobs. When you clock out, LinkedIn clocks in. They make it easy to post your job for free, share it with your network, and get qualified candidates that you can manage all in one place. All you got to do is post your job, you can write job descriptions, and quickly get your job in front of the right people, either for free or pay to promote. And promoted jobs get 3 times more qualified applicants. At the end of the day, the most important thing for your small business is to get quality candidates. And with LinkedIn, you can feel confident that you're getting the best. Based on LinkedIn data, 72% of small businesses using LinkedIn said that helps them find high quality candidates. You can let your network know you're hiring. Even add a hiring frame to your profile picture. You get twice the qualified candidates. So find out why more than 2.5 million Josue businesses use LinkedIn for hiring today. Post your job for free at LinkedIn.com. You used to not believe that, but it's true.
I was like, why are you pointing it out? It just hit me right now. That's
post your job for free.
Way too many people.
Post your job for free at LinkedIn.com/garden. That's LinkedIn.com/garden to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. That's LinkedIn.com/garden. Go check it out.
Great call.
So Jaylen.
That's funny.
Jaylen's hurt too here, Josue, and that's, we knew it throughout the year. I was skeptical about whether it was actually a bone bruise or what this thing was. It was just so cryptic. Speaking of cryptic, the way they described this thing, posterior impingement, whatever they kept posting on the injury report, and it turns out it was a torn meniscus. So it's partially torn, which isn't as devastating. Talking to the doctors the last couple of days, this thing's actually pretty common, and there's a chance you can avoid surgery, but surgery is under consideration here. And there is an opportunity here, Josue, for them to fully fix this thing, keep him out for as long as possible to make sure he's 1,000% when he comes back. And that further adds uncertainty to next season. But I think it's probably in the best interest of this team. And to me, whenever he does come back, the most interesting thing about next year, as you alluded to, is he's always had this desire to lead his own team, or at least confidence that he could do so. And, we saw it the last 2 games. Game 5 was maybe his best game ever. Game 6 was one of those old school turnover-filled Jalen games. And I have a feeling we're going to see a lot of both of those things next year. But does it end with him being a more capable leader, a better player, in better position to lead this team potentially to the future beyond next year? There might be some frustrating moments, but I want to see it because this is a guy who has always surprised us by how much he's able to do pretty much every single year of his career. And so he might be able to surprise us as a number 1 option. I really want to see this.
Right. I can say with confidence, Bobby, that Jaylen Brown has always stepped up to any challenge that was presented to him. Like, when he hasn't? You know what I mean? Like, remember when Tatum went down in Game 7? That was
his
epic comeback
point.
that was cut short, right? But the bounce back since then, you know what I mean? Like, all those turnovers was the talk of the series, or at least that game, right? Tatum's injury, of course, was as well. But man, how many turnovers? Double digits or whatever, or close to it. Like, that was something that he made sure that wasn't going to be talked about the following year. And it wasn't. He put together arguably the best season of his career, Finals MVP, Eastern Conference Finals MVP. He showed that he could be that guy on the biggest stage. So yeah, I think he presents obviously this challenge, but I just think at the end of the day, this would be great for the team as a whole. You know what I mean? And that's why I don't think you go that route of trading him. I think you go the long-term route if you have to, in the sense of making sure that he's okay health-wise, and see how he bounces back. Again, this isn't a championship team. No one's expecting this team to go deep next season. You know what I mean? But it's a great opportunity for him to be in that driver's seat and be the leader, while Tatum makes his way back, and I think surrounding him with a team like this is perfect. It's ideal when you put Jalen in that situation on a team that, again, no one's expecting to go out there and win a championship.
Yeah, for sure. And I think they can be good. I think they can be solid. They're not going to be a championship contender. But what we've seen, Josue, and you were here for all those years. Right. It's a bad conference. Yeah. There's a lot of teams. Milwaukee's probably going to move on from Giannis here. There's going to be some teams that are still in rebuilding mode. Philly, who knows what's going to happen with them? They have their own questions. So you're at least in the play-in here with this team. And if you're better than people expect, that's 5, 6 seed, 4 seed maybe. I think they can be solid here. But you do start to think about the pieces they're going to lose. Porzingis probably going out the door at some point. We'll see what his value actually is. And you could take a guy like that into the season if you really want to. But I think Holiday's almost certainly gone. Maybe a Hauser's even gone. I got to go through all this stuff, but it looks like at least 2 players will be gone off this roster. And then what's left? Can Peyton Pritchard start? Can Luke Cornett start? Josue.
Oh, I knew. I was wondering when you're going to bring that up. What is it? Minute 38? That's not too bad. That's not too bad. Well, first things first, Pritchard's ready.
Yeah.
Pritchard's ready for sure. Cornett, maybe. On this kind of team, that's not a shot at like him. He's shown.
By the way, do you think Horford's going to retire?
He could share that spot. Horford, no, I don't think so. I really don't.
So could he leave?
Could he leave? Hope not. I hope not. But I don't think he's ready to stop playing basketball, to be honest, Bobby. If he can't strike a deal with the Celtics, maybe he retires, but I just don't see – I don't know, man. I don't see him retiring based off of, just wanting to stop playing basketball. You know what I mean? Like if the Celtics offered him something, he was like, you know what? I'm just going to – I'm done. I don't see that. I don't see a situation where that happens this summer.
It was interesting because he was so emotional after the Tatum thing. Yeah, I'd never quite seen him like that the night after. He was the first guy who spoke after Tatum went down in the locker room after, and you could still see it at exit interviews when he got this question about whether you're going to still play, whether you're going to come back to Boston, and he just wasn't ready to answer any of it. And it struck me because he's never left any doubt about his desire to play. Like, he's always said, I'm going to play as long as I can. Everyone around him has said that too. And this is the first time where he was really like, I got to think about it. And I don't know whether that meant retire or leave, but neither of those would be good for Boston. They need him next year.
I'm guessing it meant how long is it going to take for Tatum to come back? I mean, for being honest,
That's the big thing.
Yeah, it's like, man, next year might just be, quote unquote, throwaway year. How much do I have in the tank for the following year? Are we going to still have this somewhat of a competitive roster than what we had in 24? Man, it's just unbelievable to think that
the departure thing's so crazy though, Josue.
I just can't wrap my head around the fact like that's it, Bobby. Like that era, that's all we got. Like these past 2 seasons, it's unbelievable the way things have changed now. With Tatum's injury
in 1 week, a whole era.
Everything changes,
crashing down.
Yeah, man. But I don't think Al wants to stop playing. I don't. I just think he's looking at this the way the window is shifted here. In his path of getting a second championship, man. Because I think that means a whole lot.
There's a world where this is maybe him leveraging the team a little bit because he's gonna try to get some money here. I think he's earned it. I don't think he's gonna take a veteran minimum, but I also think he was being sincere in the emotion and what he has to consider and the Tatum aspect, like you talked about. So,
right. I mean, you're processing everything that just happened, So that makes sense. Yeah.
It's just crazy. And I won't, we went through the Hayward thing, Josue. I didn't think he was going to leave. He goes to Charlotte. We went through the Horford thing the first time. It seemed inconceivable he'd leave then for Philly, and he did it. So those 2 situations taught me don't put it past anyone to leave, especially if there's big money out there. Cornette could even leave this summer for more money. He's a free agent too. So either of those guys could be gone on top of the trades you have to make. And that's where this offseason gets really devastating. And the thing with Horford for me is that Philly thing went so badly, even though he got paid and probably doesn't regret that. He ends up back in Boston eventually anyway.
He got a bag for that shit, yeah.
But don't you think that'll factor into him evaluating leaving Boston again? The fact that it went so poorly that it wasn't a good fit in the end and he got paid, but it put his career in real jeopardy at that time. He ends up getting dumped to Oklahoma and spends that year there with the Thunder, has to redeem himself a little bit, and then fortunately ends up back in Boston. But it took a lot to get back there and, win that first championship. It's kind of crazy the swing his career took at that moment. Could he really leave again?
I'd be really surprised, Bobby, unless it's like a sure or one of those situations where you could see him winning a championship.
Would he go back to Oklahoma?
Maybe. As you said, Oklahoma, that literally crossed my mind. But I was like, I think they're all set with Biggs, but
he's going to finish the job there.
Maybe a situation like that, right, where he could see himself winning a championship. But even then, I feel like it's going to sound weird or maybe not for Celtics fans, but like I feel like Al looking at another jersey and being like, that's mine. You know what I mean? Like, I just think it's weird for him at this point. He did leave technically, but he came back. He won a championship. I mean, I just think it might be just hard for him to put on another uniform, to be honest. I think yes, he wants to. It's about winning a second championship, but adding to this franchise, this storied franchise, that chapter, his legacy. I think that means a lot to him as well. So I think, I don't know, man. Hopefully,
he's a guy who could get his jersey retired here potentially.
I was thinking that when you talked about him possibly retiring. I mean, that's kind of like the next thing in my mind. I'm like, he's going up there. If you ask me, man, like he's earned it. I mean, championship, those handful of all-stars, appearances. You know what, Bobby, man, just popped in my head right now. That Celtic City thing, my only thing about that, well, actually a few things, but I'll just keep it to this. I wish they spent a little more time on the Brad Stevens era, like the IT
Isaiah years.
Yeah, I mean, like I get it. They didn't get to the finals, but still, like I just thought that Al played a huge part in that. And I'm glad they did spend some time in the free agency because it was significant. I mean, you remember Bobby, like he's still, in my opinion, regarded as the biggest free agent they ever landed. You know what I mean? So like he was sort of like the first pillar, towards a championship, or at least the culture when you really think about it. So yeah, man, I think he's the next one. He's the next number to go up there whenever that happens. But I don't think he wants to hang it up though, man. He's not ready to retire.
Yeah, that's the next shoe to drop here potentially, and I don't know how long he's going to need to come up with that decision. Maybe into the summer, because of course he is going to become a free agency at the beginning, or free agent at the beginning of July here. Who Cornette will as well for this team, and then They got to make some decisions on Porzingis, on Holiday. The Porzingis thing was weird, Josue, and we talked about it. How beloved was this guy last year? And even though he's hurt in the playoffs, he comes back, has that crazy finals game. Probably the wildest thing I've seen covering this team was that comeback in that game he had to start the finals last year. You saw the bandage incident from afar, I'm sure, against the Magic, where his head splits open and he comes out and everyone's going crazy. And
Oh
he was
yeah,
so good this year.
looked like a
And
scene
then
out
the
of wrestling.
illness.
Yeah,
The illness just completely derails his season. And I'm bummed thinking about it because that could be the last memory of him here, is him not being able to play against the Knicks, him struggling when he was out there. And once again, this guy who, as great as he's been, availability, the only downside throughout his career, strikes him again here to end this time in Boston. And I wrote going into the playoffs, he really wanted to be part of a championship repeat run because he didn't get to play too much last, postseason. And he might never get that chance here if they end up moving on from him. Do you think they're gonna?
I think so, Bobby. I really do. But it's just, man, it's just disappointing. I mean, we talked about how short the window was, but for someone like Porzingis, man, like I've been saying this for the last 2 seasons, but like no one was having more fun than Porzingis out there with the Celtics, man. Like he was just so happy to be in this situation, and obviously,
And the
people are
fans fell in love with him.
and the fans adored him, man. Like I saw 4 or 5 year win. You know what I mean? Like I didn't think it would end like this, and with him in Boston, and it's too bad because it's again, it's not even a physical ailment. It's something that it's an illness, and it's something that we have to really take seriously and consider. His health is the most important thing right now, and it's just too bad, man. Like it's just one tough blow after another for the Celtics team, and right now it's like the next few years have changed, in a big way, in a significant way. Sucks.
Yeah, and so a lot of uncertainty ahead. We're going to have it all covered here on CLNS Media. Like I mentioned, Brad Stevens is talking later this afternoon. We'll have that live around 2:30 p.m. here on CLNS Media. So you can tune in directly to the press conference. I'm sure it's going to be a long one. Ton of questions to answer. I was going through them, Josue, and obviously the Tatum timeline is going to be a big one. Jaylen Brown's outlook. Is he going to have surgery? Another major question. The second apron things. How much this team's going to expect them to make moves here with the second apron and luxury tax considerations. Even Joe Mazzulla's future. This is going to be Joe Mazzulla's last year under contract, Josue. So do they extend him this summer? Do they move on from Mazzulla? I don't see that happening, but those are going to be questions as well for him here. And I thought Joe had a good year and a tough postseason. I would bring him back, absolutely. I'd probably even extend him because I think he's the least of your concerns right now. And I think he's in a good position to actually make them more competitive than people expect, because we've seen when Tatum's been out, when Brown's been out, all these random guys have been out over the last 2 years here. They won a lot of those games. So I'm extending Joe this summer. Me and Joe always aren't on the same page, but I have a lot of respect for what he's done the last couple of years.
Yeah. I mean, right now, I feel like he's the guy you want to stick with, especially with the way things are right now. Yeah, in terms of extending him, sure. I mean, in the NBA, like it's like a
doesn't matter.
Until a couple of rough seasons, all of a sudden you lose your job. So, like, I love that quote when he talked about going into work and just like expecting to get fired. You know what I mean? Like that's how you have to wake up every morning. Like that's a great way to start your day. If you think about it that way, like you're gonna give it your absolute best, and that's exactly what I think Joe does, and now even more so. So yeah, man. Like I think we also have to remember, like this is still like the beginning stages of his coaching career. He's still learning. He's still getting better as well, and that's a good thing. That's a really good thing when you think about some of the best coaches in the NBA. I mean, he's certainly in that top tier, regardless of how you have, the ranking. You have to put him up there. So I just think he's only going to get better as the Celtics head coach. The team adores him in the sense of they listen to him. He's got a really strong voice in that locker room, and the culture loves him. Man, Celtics fans love this dude. They think everything he says is hilarious. So
they were on him a little bit in this series, Josue. They were getting after him a little bit.
Were they really?
Again,
what were they mad about? What did he do wrong?
Playing Porzingis, not
Oh,
playing
okay.
Pritchard more.
Yeah.
Too many threes per usual, right? The timeout thing. Some of the old hits came back out, but
Yeah. He finally started Cornette though. He switched it up and stuff, right? But yeah.
he did. Yeah, Cornette started the last game, and I would say this about that Knicks series before we wrap this. I think not only me, but I think Knicks fans too, a lot of people, and I love that Joe shouted him out after the last game. Tom Thibodeau was great in this series. I mean, coached an incredible series, really put pressure on Tatum and Brown, schemed it up, switched up their defense from what they did in the regular season. You know well Josue from the Tibbs years in Boston and some of his other stops. That guy can really coach. He's done a brilliant job in New York.
Specialist. Yeah, man.
And think about it, man. He rebuilt that Knicks team from the ground. They were completely demoralized when he came there. And he just led them to their first East final since 2000. Unbelievable. You got to feel happy for him.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. When they were pretty much saying it was this or this is like the end of the line. You know what I mean? I felt like going into the postseason.
He was going to be fired.
Yeah, in some ways, I mean, it's true, but you always kind of felt like when that conversation was going to happen because of the team was so disappointing, because it's just kind of what happens in New York, after a certain amount of years. And man, I feel like his confidence never wavered in the sense of what he was trying to do. And I think we saw that obviously in a big way in the postseason because, man, he was so ready for the Celtics, man. Like he had this thing
Unreal.
ready in the sense of what they were going to do in their attack defensively. I mean, what they were doing with the switching and the with Mitchell Robinson, I just think that all that stuff was just accumulated over the years, and it worked in his favor. I mean, with the injuries, obviously, that didn't help the Celtics at all. But he was ready for the series, and it showed. Especially, you can't even deny that in those first 2-3 games.
I hate to say this because people are going to get really mad, and I hope some people agree with me. I think a couple people will agree with me.
What's that?
I'm kind of rooting for the Knicks now.
Really?
I want to see Tibbs get it done.
Tibbs, I guess.
Tibbs, but also
wow,
that team hasn't won since the 70s, and so they beat you, plain and simple.
Is it a sympathy thing? Oh, come on. Don't do that to the Knicks. They don't need that. They're so obnoxious. Well, not the team. The fans don't need that sympathy. I feel you, but
no, they need a championship, man. It's been way too long.
This team doesn't do it for me. It's kind of like
you're just saying that because you want the Thunder to win it all.
Well, no, but like, listen, I just think this is that type of team where, like, yes, this is a great run for them. It's going to be something that we look back on and be like, man, that was a hell of a season for New York. But like,
I like their players too.
I'm not at that point with this team where you're like, man, they deserve the championship or like they should win it. Like,
no, they're gonna have to earn it.
Yeah,
and Indy's tough,
especially against the Pacers, man. Pacers, they're gonna be tough, man. So like this whole like cat all celebrating already. I'm like, man, you're not even at the finals yet, man. Like, relax. He's got the shirt on. Did you see him at Yankee Stadium? I think it was. Like, come on, man. Like,
I do hope they beat Indy though, man.
I'm impressed, but like this is gonna be a tough matchup for him, man.
If it is Thunder Knicks for the finals, that would be good. You're gonna head out to New York?
Oh, for sure, man. Come through. We have a good time. You got a series in New York, man. I'm jealous. We talked about that. What was it, like last week?
You might get one, man. Next round.
I hope so. That would be fun. I think the NBA wants that too. NBA just wants New York. Anyone on the other side is fine as long as New York, big market like New York is.
Indiana, Oklahoma would be tough market wise. I think all the national writers would be like, "Fuck."
maybe, yeah, probably actually. But hey, man, it's 2 really good teams. This is what we got left. This is what the NBA wanted. All right, they wanted to stop the dynasties. They put all these
absolutely.
They put all these damn what do you call them? They put all these pillars, or hurdles, I should say, in the way of teams that were trying to just go out and put super teams together. So yeah, they wanted small market.
Let's be real, Josue.
We wanted this to show to everyone that anybody can do it. Any team can do it.
I think we both feel like the Thunder are going to get this done. But would we be surprised if the Wolves won it all? No. Would be surprised if the Knicks win it all. No. Indiana, they could easily win it all. All 4 teams left have a real chance to win it all. And even last round, I felt like there were 6 or 7 who could have done it, including the Celtics. So this is what they wanted, right? Some uncertainty, some surprises, upsets, all that. We'll see what the matchup ends up being, because if it's like Wolves Pacers, I don't think that'll be great for the league. But there's so much uncertainty right now, and I think they like that. And I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, it's a good thing. But man, Wolves Pacers would be crazy.
Wolves Knicks is cool
Right.
though. That's
Out
the
of those
trade.
4 teams, though, Bobby, which one has the worst odds?
Probably Minnesota, because they're playing the Thunder now.
What's you crazy, man? The Knicks definitely have the worst odds. Like
They have
it's
the
like-
worst.
It's like, how did you get here? What are you doing here?
So you're going with the
Yeah.
Pacers in that series?
I am. I mean,
Wow.
it wouldn't shock me if New York wins, but yeah, man. I think the Pacers. I think I think they're gonna provide a lot of problems for New York, especially on the defensive end of the floor for sure.
I feel it, because I have so much respect for Indy. The thing that worries me with New York is what we talked about at the beginning of the show, that they might feel like they just won the championship already.
That's what I feel like, man. Cat's already wearing like fan shirts and stuff. It's like, man, like you sometimes, most of the time, I should say, you see that type of behavior start at the finals, but not now. But man, New York, couldn't contain himself, man. The fans are just going crazy right now, and good for them. Good for the fans, I guess.
They have the least depth of the teams left, as we talk about. So if someone gets banged up or someone goes down, and they'd be in the worst spot to, recover from that. Towns is a little banged up with the finger, I think. So we'll see what happens there. He seemed okay the last couple games. But otherwise, they're healthy. Robinson's been awesome. You got Bridges getting going. I feel pretty good about them. So I am going to lead Knicks in that series. But wouldn't be surprised if the Pacers get it done. I want to give a quick shout out real quick.
Hope it happens. If the Thunder can get past Minnesota, which I think they can. Yeah, I wouldn't mind that.
How many
OKC versus New York?
How many
That's not a
games
bad
you got that series going?
Thunder and Timberwolves, man. I want to say 6, to be honest with you. I did say Thunder and 7 for the Nuggets, and I mean that's not even a glow at this point. I feel like it's almost a cop out, because it's just easier to say. That's exactly what happened, but I don't know. I think the Thunder can get this done in 6, but it's not going to be as easy. I think it's going to be tough. It's going to be challenging. I don't know if it'll be just as challenging as the Nuggets, but it might. It might, again, because of the rebounding and the rim protection and just the defense. Timberwolves' defense overall. It's not gonna be easy for these guys.
All right, Josue, good talking to you. Hopefully we'll talk to you again later for the finals or whatever it might be. Maybe we'll do a show in New York, like you mentioned, if that ends up happening. We'll figure something out. But follow along his coverage. Playoff run continues here, man. I can't believe they're playing tomorrow. We talked about that before we started this show.
It's no rest for these guys, man. It's unbelievable. I mean, every other day there's a game. The only time they got an extra day was for Game 7. But yeah, man. I mean, maybe that way it helps them in the sense of their momentum.
Just keep it rolling.
I can't wait, man. Can't wait. Another conference finals, man. Game 1. It's gonna be fun, man. I think the series is gonna be. It's gonna be. Actually, they're both gonna be great, man. I was gonna say this will probably be the better one, but man, they're gonna probably be equally as entertaining. So I can't wait, man. Thanks for having me on, Bobby. Appreciate you.
For sure. Always love talking to Josue. Show some love to Prize Picks, CLNS. Play $5, get 50 instantly over there, as well as LinkedIn. Go over there right now and post your job for free at linkedin.com/garden. Terms and conditions apply. We'll probably be back tonight. If anything, obviously something interesting is going to happen at this Brad thing. So I'd say it's a good bet we go live tonight and react to that. So turn your notifications on, subscribe to the channel here, and we'll talk to you with all our takeaways from what Brad says this afternoon. And again, we're going to have that streaming live at 2:30 here on CLNS Media and Celtics All Access. But that's it for us for now. Josue Pavon, Bobby Manning. This has been a Monday edition of the Garden Report, and we will talk to you later today. Peace.
No one's sneaking a vegan brownie by me, I'll tell you that.
Okay, you know what, John? We're gonna do it.
You have to feel that way too, Bobby.
I have to
Same,
feel that
same
way.
to you.
Let's
Yeah.
fight Al over and make Luke your first center.
Bobby, we gave you Luke hour early. We're not going to end this on a damn conversation about Luke